This is NHTV2, North Haven Government Television, a service of North Haven Community Television. The following program is brought to you through the support of the town of North Haven.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Michael Frieda, North Haven's first Selectman, and I'm joined tonight at this special Board of Selectmen meeting by our second Selectman, Mr. William Piper, and our third Selectwoman, Ms. Sally Buemi, both of whom are joining us tonight via teleconference. Sally and Bill, would you like to say hello to our audience?
Yes, Sally speaking. Good to hear your voice, Michael. My best regards to you and Bill and your families, but mostly I just want to say hello to everybody here in North Haven. I hope everyone is doing well and coping with these difficult and challenging times.
Thank you, Sally. Bill.
And I'd like to second what Sally said. I mean, these are times that are, that we really don't have any prior, at least in our lifetimes, any prior frame of reference to, to the extent that this coronavirus, this COVID-19, has caused such a disruption. I think in all our lives, in terms of what we do for work and how our family is, and the anxiety it causes, plus the, for all the people that have had, have lost family members, it's a real tragic, difficult time, and a lot of anguish and stress. I know on so many people based on what's going on. So I wish everybody the best as well, and hope everybody stays well and safe with their family, their family members wherever they may be located as well.
Okay, before yes, Sally.
Sorry, and if I may, Mike, Sally, again, I'd just like to say, we all want to get things back to normal, whatever that new normal will be, but we have to be patient and keep following all these safety precautions. A couple of days ago, Michael, as you know, I suggested that perhaps because there's only 3 of us on the Board of Selectmen, that we could meet in person with appropriate safety precautions, wearing masks, sitting 6 feet apart. But you rightfully, and I respected your decision that you passed on to me through your office, you said that it's still not safe to be at town hall. So I agree that we have to keep maintaining steadfastly all of these precautions. I think some of these people who are protesting, who want the governor to lighten things up, are a bit ill-advised. So I'm sure you would agree with me, Mike. And again, I wish everyone well, and I hope they continue to stay careful and safe and steadfast in all of the appropriate precautions that are advised by medical professionals. Thank you.
I do agree, and tomorrow night, ladies and gentlemen, I'll be back on North Haven TV. There will be a message on social media tomorrow. Now, before I call this meeting to order, I'd like to say for those who may be dialed in or watching on video, the lines are on mute, and this is a discussion tonight, and I'll call this meeting actually to order. So this, I'll call the meeting to order, is a special meeting of the Town Board of Selectmen on Wednesday, April 22nd here at North Haven Town Hall at 5 p.m. The purpose of this meeting is to...
Mike, maybe before we move on to the agenda or the purpose of the meeting, let's not deviate from our normal procedure, if it's okay with you and Sally, that we say the Pledge of Allegiance.
All right, so I'm going to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, and I'll assume Bill and Sally, you're standing also, okay?
Michael, I could see you on the TV screen. You look a little lonely there. Too bad there couldn't have been cardboard photos of Bill and I on either side of you. But certainly I am standing and looking at the flag on the television, and I agree with Bill.
Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Sally, you reminded me of one of my favorite songs when I was a kid.
Oh, here we go.
One is the loneliest number.
Yes, yes. Well, you have those two beautiful flags on either side of you rather than Bill and I, but I'm sure you miss both of us terribly.
I do. All right, so we'll call this meeting to order, and this meeting, ladies and gentlemen watching on TV and zooming in, is to discuss Section 6 of Governor Ned Lamont's Executive Order 7S, entitled Suspension and Modification of Tax Deadlines and Collection Efforts Issued Due to COVID-19 and the COVID-19 Pandemic. The second item on the agenda is to consider and vote upon a resolution pursuant to Section 6 of Governor Lamont's Executive Order, number 7S, to participate in a deferment program, a 90-day deferment. So what that means, ladies and gentlemen, is that the municipal taxes usually are due July 1st, and this deferment could potentially extend, or would potentially extend, the tax deadline to October 1st. And also, the other option that the governor's executive order offers is to defer or reduce the interest, the annual interest rate that all municipalities are obligated to charge for delinquencies, from 18% to 3%. So that's the purpose of tonight's meeting. Before I turn it over to Bill and Sally, it is a very difficult time for many of us across the state of Connecticut, including the tax-paying citizens. Unemployment now is rising up to about 15%, and the most onerous predictions suggest that it would be at 20% at the end or during the latter stages of this pandemic. So because of the times we're in, the governor has been issuing a series of executive orders. Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we're here to discuss the two options. Every municipality across the state of Connecticut has to either select one or two of the options that I mentioned. It's my opinion, and we'll have Sally and Bill weigh in shortly, that the best thing we can do to offer all of our citizens is extending the tax payments which are due July 1st for 90 days to give our citizens and businesses relief. Will it present a cash flow issue? We're strong enough financially where I know we can manage this. So it's going to be my proposal tonight, and I'm very interested in hearing Sally and Bill also, that this is the direction we take here. So I'm going to now turn it over to my fellow members of the Board of Selectmen, both of whom have received and read the governor's executive order, and I'll start with Sally. Sally, would you like to weigh in first?
Sure, Michael, thank you. So if I understand you correctly, you are interested in only offering the tax deferment plan and not the lower interest for tax delinquencies.
So let me explain. The answer is yes.
Okay.
Because, and there's a reason, because by offering the 90-day deferral to everybody, then the 3% interest almost is irrelevant for the 90-day period, because everybody has an extension to October 1st.
Right. Well, everybody who applies and who is eligible.
So let me explain that, Sally, because that's a very good point. On a conference call today, on a regional and statewide conference call with all of my chief elected officials, we can waive the application process. So in effect, what we can do is offer this to everyone. Now, we know that there are those people and businesses out there who still can pay the taxes after July 1st. But what I'm proposing here tonight is also waiving the application process. And many of the municipalities I've spoken with are doing the same thing. So we would potentially, and we'll have a resolution for a motion later on during this meeting, we can offer this without having people apply.
Well, that's very interesting because, I got the rather long packet in preparation for today's meeting. It was about 29 pages of materials and documents, summaries from OPM, as well as the operative executive orders. And so I studied them at length, and I had come up with 7 talking points. And my second talking point was the administrative burden of handling these applications that had a submission deadline of July 1st, which I thought was kind of late.
Yes.
Because, if you don't get approved, how much notice are you going to have that you have to pay it by the normal 1 month, grace period, which this year is to August 3rd, because August 1st is on a Saturday. So I thought that submission deadline for the application was a little out of whack, number one. Number two, I found it to be a tremendous administrative burden to deal with these applications, because here today on April 22nd, we can't be sure when our town halls will be up and running and fully operational to handle a task like this. So I'm going to cross off one of my 7. I like this waiver. But I think that we have to make everybody out there understand that, as far as our residents go, because how I feel on this is different for residents versus landlords, okay? Most of our residents, I should say all of our residents who own their own homes, if they have mortgages, purchase money mortgages, that is, they are probably escrowing for taxes, meaning that every month they're sending in 1 month's worth of taxes, and then every 6 months their bank or mortgage servicer pays the taxes that they've been collecting or holding in escrow as they become due every July and January. That's going to happen. If I read all of this correctly, it says in Executive Order 7S, subsection 6D, that the financial institutions shall, which is a pretty tough word, that means must in legalese, they shall continue to remit the property taxes as long as the borrowers are current or in a forbearance or deferment program. And by a deferment program, I don't mean this program, this deferment program, but a mortgage deferment program that people might be eligible for with their lenders. So most of those folks out there that are paying mortgages and are escrowing for taxes, they're not going to be affected by this at all. Their taxes are going to be paid in July, right? Is that how you understand it?
Exactly.
So what does that mean, though, for the folks who don't have mortgages or don't escrow? Those are folks that own their homes free and clear, or perhaps they have a reverse mortgage, which you normally don't escrow taxes for, or maybe they just have equity lines as opposed to a purchase money mortgage, and you often do not escrow with equity lines. So it's up to you to mail in or come to town hall and make those taxes. So for those folks, this is really important, I think.
Yes.
Because, folks are, as you appropriately pointed out, Michael, unemployment can go as high as 20%. These are difficult times financially, not just for towns and states, but for people. And so I like the idea of offering the deferment for those folks who are not escrowing for taxes with their mortgage, that need the help, need the extra time. Because really, these weeks, they kind of go by slowly, don't they? We don't know what is going to happen from week to week. They may very well need that extra 3 months. So I like the waiving of the application process, and I like offering this deferment program.
Very good.
I also, though, would like to say I sort of like the delinquency program also because, there are folks out there who are, everybody pays, I mean, this applies not only to real estate taxes, but I believe it applies to, motor vehicle taxes, personal property taxes, right? It's not just real estate. And those are not escrowed for.
Right.
So folks may have a problem making those motor vehicle payments in July. So I was thinking that
Those are
delinquency...
those are covered under the deferment program under Sally, under paragraph A.
Yes, but well, I think we're already in agreement that we're going to be offering the deferment program.
Yes.
Right, and that would include, I just wanted to make sure that everybody understood it's not only real estate, in terms of houses, which escrow.
Right.
It's any taxes on real property, personal property,
Right.
or motor vehicles, or
Right.
municipal water, sewer, and electric rates.
Yes.
We don't have any electric, but we do have sewer, that are assessed and become payable as of July 1st.
Well, the sewer tax isn't due until October.
Right, so that'll open us up there.
And, but the taxes that come due in July are the real estate taxes, the personal property taxes on businesses, and motor vehicle. And as we've already discussed, we know the escrow versus non-escrow issue, but everybody has to pay those. And obviously, real estate is your biggest chunk of taxes, unless you own a real lot of real expensive cars. But by far, for most people, it's the real estate taxes that are the big chunk. But everybody does have motor vehicle taxes, and I thought that the second program, the low interest rate program, reducing from 18 to 3, would be helpful for people in that regard. And again, it's just, we're not talking about a lot of money here because, your average car tax, what is it, $400 or $600? And, we were going from 1.5% per month down to 0.25% per month for 3 months. So we're not talking about a lot of money here, but before before this meeting even started, and I heard Mike say he's in favor of the deferment program, that was the one that was most important to me. But I just wanted to share, get your response to what I'm saying about the delinquency, especially as it relates to motor vehicle taxes. You don't see it as necessary because of the amount of money involved, or because you want to maintain the cash flow, or what is your opposition to the low interest rate program, the second program?
Bill, I'll be more than happy to answer that, but do you want to weigh in also on that before I answer?
Yeah, again, that's only people who are delinquent from May 10th to July 1st. So those people have to...
April 1st through July 1st.
Or April 1st through July 1st.
Yeah,
I think
remember,
it's amended.
don't forget about Executive Order 7W, which changed those dates.
Amended.
Yeah.
But again, it's only people who are currently delinquent.
Well,
so even if you're delinquent, it doesn't affect real estate taxes, or personal property taxes like motor vehicle taxes that are due on July 1st.
Yes, it does.
No, that's already covered under the deferment program.
Yes.
Right, but the deferment program...
That's your next set of property taxes that it covers. So if you're delinquent now, that's a past tax, not the tax that's due on July 1st.
Right, so those delinquencies, Sally, get the benefit starting July 1st of pushing back their tax obligation for 90 days. So they're getting a benefit.
Right, I understand that. They're not, even the motor vehicle taxes are not going to be, the final due date will be October 1st. Really, the deferment program is more accurately described as an extension of the grace period.
Right.
Wouldn't you consider that true?
Yes.
So you're saying that because of that, the low interest rate program isn't needed?
I'm saying that the deferment is the most compelling and compassionate thing that we can do for our residents.
I agree.
Because even those in delinquencies going back to April will still derive a benefit for that. And that's kind of how I see this. Any delinquencies from the past, they're part of the past, but those delinquencies will receive the benefit of the 90-day deferral moving forward, starting July 1st.
Okay. The delinquent portion, hold on a second. Right, because the low interest rate program sort of divides it into two. Those taxes that are already delinquent, right?
Yes.
Versus those that are going to become delinquent if they don't get paid. For us, it's all on July 1st.
Exactly. Yep.
I think they included April for, some towns do taxes quarterly, some towns have different.
Right.
Not everybody does July 1st to January 1st. July 1st, January 1st tax payments. But for us, I understand what you're saying. And I am in total agreement. If we were going to choose between the two and only do one, it's a no-brainer that it would have to be the deferment program as the best opportunity to help our citizens who are struggling during these times.
Right. So, Bill, did you?
And I think also there is some administrative burden on the low interest rate program. I think in terms of the recalculation of the per annum for actually what's relatively small amount, especially if the majority of these delinquent taxes are motor vehicle related.
Right.
So I think many cases too, people have already worked out a repayment schedule that they may be on. So I think it just complicates things. I think it takes care of a subset for a relatively small period of time, a small group of people who may have had trouble in the past. But as Mike said, under the deferral program, at least a deferment program rather, it takes care of just about any citizen that's experienced a reduction in household income, due to what's been, in terms of what's been going on.
Now, if I can make another comment on this too, to the points we're making, I'm trying to offer two compassionate gestures to everybody, businesses and residents. And those two gestures are the 90-day deferment, and we're also going to be proposing a mill rate reduction in this upcoming budget. I'm very sensitive to the people, the struggles that are out there, even businesses. Like there's a plaza in town hurting badly, a plaza that's put in $8 million worth of renovations. Tenants are closed. So I think we're at a point in time where we really have to offer as much compassion to everybody at this juncture until we can pull ourselves out of this.
Well, I'm just looking at my list of 7 talking points. What is, you talk, like you said, you talked with a lot of other mayors and first selectmen. Most are going with just the deferment program?
Yes, so let me explain, Sally. It's a great question. So I'll name some municipalities, which I don't normally do, but these are all colleagues of mine, and I work closely with all of them across the state of Connecticut. Brantford, Madison, Guilford, Wallingford, Orange, well-run financial organizations, all going with the 90-day deferral. Now, in talking to the city of New Haven, the mayor proposed the 90-day deferral, but some of the alders liked the fact of adding the 3% versus the 18%. So we're not sure how that's going to play out. But most everybody feels like we do. The more powerful and compelling gesture is the 90-day deferral.
Right.
Actually, Mike, I could add to that list because this was public information. It was in the New Haven Register. I've collected articles from the last several days, and I've seen in the New Haven Register that it's been reported that Madison, North Branford, Guilford, Stratford, Norwalk, New Milford, Fairfield, Trumbull, Greenwich, Westport, and Bethel have opted for the deferment program.
Yes. So.
Right. Well, Right, and again, just so it's clear to everybody, the deferment program is really just an extension of the grace period. We all normally get a grace period of that 1 month. It's due on the 1st, payable by the end of the month, and it could even trickle into due July 1st, I should say. Payable by the end of the month, and sometimes it trickles into August, depending upon when the last day of the month falls. So this is really extending that grace period to October 1st.
That's exactly right.
Now, it's not extending the due date to October 1st, meaning then payable by October 31st. No.
Right.
So it's really just a 2-month extension of the already 1-month grace period that we have and always have every year.
That's exactly right. Yes.
So we should be very clear on that.
Yes.
So that's the deferment plan. The key word is delay or extension of grace period. The low interest rate program, the second program, which you guys seem to, think is not necessary, is a reduction in the interest rate on delinquent or past due taxes. I just want to make it clear because, you and I, the three of us, we have all this stuff in black and white on paper in front of us.
Yes.
The folks at home are just listening. You know what I'm saying, guys?
Of course. And to that point, and that's a very good way to clarify it. As I look into the camera here on North Haven TV, it's the deferral. It's delaying. It doesn't mean the taxes aren't due because I think all of the citizens...
I don't want everybody to run out in the streets celebrating, we don't have to pay taxes.
Because
it's a delay of the grace period.
The reality is the government, not only this government, but every single government across the state, local government, needs money to provide the services, whether it be police, fire, sanitation, public works. So to Sally's point, it's a deferral and a delaying of the taxes, but it gives people some breathing room to help allow them to come out of the troubles that they may be having.
Yeah, I mean, we've been listening to all sorts of, we'll be back up and running in a month or 2 months or 3. We don't know. Nobody can predict. I said it before, my crystal ball is in the shop. I don't know how long things are going to be as restricted as they are or when things will start easing in and at what pace. So, yes, this does offer some breathing room, an extension on the grace period. I also wanted to ask you what is, since you are the president of CCM, Connecticut Conference of Municipalities, do they have a official position on these two programs? Does CCM have a position?
CCM's position, Sally, was we worked with the governor's office to create the executive order that allowed the 2 options, but our position at CCM is to allow the municipalities, depending upon their own financial condition, to pick one of the 2 or both, but at least one has to be chosen to report.
Right. We made that clear before. But both are offered, and I don't think that having the deferment, offering the deferment plan, and it looks like the three of us all agree on doing that, I don't think that equates to we don't need the low interest rate program, because then why are they both being offered? Bill said before, we really don't need it, but I just think that the amount of money involved and the cost to the town in administering it, like Bill said, I could see your points, but somebody down the line thought that this was an important thing to offer.
Yeah, let me explain why, because you're right. I'm going to put the CCM perspective back on the table here for the audience to hear.
Thank you.
There are going to be, and I would rather not name these municipalities because I know them well, there are going to be municipalities that can't afford to do the deferral because they will be crippled by a lack of cash flow. So the option of the 3% was put in to help those municipalities to offer their residents something. And that is why the offer was put in, because one in particular I know cannot do the 90-day deferral. They're already in a deficit, meaning their budget versus expenses. So that was thrown out there as an option to allow them to do something for their
I
residents.
see, yeah. Well, that helps put it into context, not only for me, but for those folks listening at home. Clearly, the deferment is, or I should say the extension of the grace period within the deferment program is a more significant help and tougher for a town to absorb.
Right. I also want to say, Sally and Bill, that
Yeah.
I want to come back to our budget process that we'll talk about at our next Board of Selectmen meeting on May
Yeah.
7th, that many of these municipalities who are offering the deferral are going to be raising mill rates significantly. So we're, I think, in a position where we can offer the two acts of compassionate gestures to our citizens and our businesses by the deferral and the mill rate reduction for those that weren't part of a reval major increase.
Right. The reval does complicate things a bit, of course, as it always does every time there's a reval year. But we will be able to discuss that at another time.
Right. So,
But I see your point. If I can just quickly look through
sure.
my list, most of them we've covered. Do you know what percentage, or maybe you can get this information from the tax collector, what percentage of residential properties escrow versus not escrow?
I can give you a percentage that may have a variance either way. It's approximately 32% is escrowed.
Only 32% of residential
Yes.
properties escrow?
Yes.
Okay.
That's interesting, because
I would have thought it would have been higher.
I had that in, I had that as a question as well. And,
Well,
in the newspaper, again, reading the register, and I can't remember necessarily, and it's not important what town it was, but they had a similar percent, like 33% or whatever was escrowed, which I thought also, as you did, was a lower number than I would have guessed.
but let me restate what I just said, because
All right.
I don't think I was clear.
Okay.
The percentage I gave you, it may have been, I have to come back to your question. You asked me about the number of residents, Sally?
The residential properties.
Okay.
I mean,
So-
because obviously we have about 65 to 70% residential here in North Haven.
Right.
The 30 to 35, 30 to 35%
Right.
commercial.
Yep.
I'm more interested in the residential properties. Most
So-
of the folks listening
So the percent,
are single-family homeowners.
Right.
I was interested in knowing what percentage of the residential properties escrow for taxes.
So the
'Cause
percentage,
that money's coming in no matter what.
the percentage I gave you was the percentage of the total income we would have received in that 90-day period.
Yeah.
Is through escrow. That percentage doesn't identify the percentage of residents. It's the percentage of income.
Of the total, of the total,
Yes.
yeah. So just from that, you can tell that the percentage of residential properties is higher than 32%. If 32% is the total income coming in, because some of that is commercial.
Right.
Okay, that's okay. I guess I'm just trying to say, for a lot of folks out there who have mortgages, who escrow, meaning they chip in not just their principal and interest on their mortgage, but 1 month's worth of taxes, those folks, their taxes are going to be paid no matter what. The banks are required to pay them by the normal grace period due date of, the 1 month grace period. So the town is going to get a big chunk of money regardless.
Yes.
Enough to carry us the extra 2 months of grace period.
And you said something that is very true. The banks are required to pay the money in escrow, so that's a very important point.
Yeah, they have to
Sally,
keep, yes, they are, it says that they shall continue to remit property taxes to the municipalities.
Right.
So the eligibility, well, we're not really doing eligibility because we're not applying,
Right.
but this paperwork says the eligibility for the program is sort of irrelevant because for those folks, for escrowing folks, because your taxes are going to get paid by your mortgage company, your bank, no matter what.
That's right.
And that's good for us. Us meaning the town, who we have
You've
to pay
already-
our bills.
And those people have already paid it, so.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
What's
Sally, if we
interesting,
use
though,
your-
it
if we
says
use your-
that the financial institutions, banks, whatever, shall continue to remit property taxes as long as the borrower remains current or is in their own deferment program. And that's kind of interesting because if they're not making their mortgage payments for a few months and they get tacked on to the end of their mortgage payment period, that means they're not paying into that escrow account, but yet the bank is still required to pay the whole amount. I wonder how that works.
That's why I think escrow too is to make, to make sure that you have enough to pay, because they have the house as collateral. Obviously.
Well, yes.
So
Well,
I think they want to preserve the collateral in terms of the value of the house.
So,
okay. But the point I'm trying to make is that many residential properties won't be affected by this at all. I was trying to determine what percentage, but we don't really know that. But lots of folks out
Sally,
there
if you do
have
the
mortgages.
Sally, if you take Mike's figure of 32%,
Yeah.
and we both know, I think you're exactly right, that 67% of our tax base is residential. That 32% escrow, assuming that all the escrowing is being done by residential property, comes out to be 47.8%.
Okay.
48%. So, which seems more reasonable at at least half the around
Residential
half of
taxpayers. Yeah.
would be
We'll be taking in that money anyway because, again, if you are escrowing for taxes, your banks have to pay it on time within the 1 month grace period that always exists. You guys agree with that?
yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Could we move forward with a proposed resolution for your consideration?
Sure, go ahead.
All right. So, resolved, pursuant to Section 6 of Governor Ned Lamont's Executive Order Number 7S, that the town of North Haven elects to participate in a deferment program and to authorize First Selectman Michael Frieda to certify the program election to the Office of Policy Management, which I would be required to do by April 25th.
Right.
Any discussion on the resolution?
Will there be another resolution on the not participating in the low interest rate program?
No.
Or are we only doing a resolution on what we will be participating in?
On what we will be participating in. There's no requirement to create a resolution to vote the second option down.
Right, because we only are required
Yes.
to offer one program at a minimum.
At a minimum, right.
Okay. So before I vote on this, I have to ask myself whether I want to give in on both programs. And again, I found it a bit compelling. The amount of money involved is significantly less because of the duration of the time period that the interest rate is reduced versus the administrative costs and whatnot. So I'll wait to hear other comments. Let me buy some time.
Bill, go right ahead.
Bill, what do you have to say?
I think I've already, expressed my opinion that it makes the most sense to go with the deferment program. The one thing that I would like to tell people, this is for people that have a need. I mean, that if you don't have a need, and you've always, and your taxes are not escrowed, and you could still pay your taxes on time like the first, or like you would normally do under the first or second week of July, versus waiting till later, it definitely helps out the town in terms of cash flow and the fact that the town continues to need to be able to fund and support the services that the town employees and the people on the Board of Ed that are still out there, because they still need to be maintained, and students are still being taught at home, and we don't know what's going to happen with any of these things. But we still need, to collect money to support the town and its services. And if you can do it in July, please, like you would normally do it in the first or second or third week of July, please do. And if you can do it in August, because things have gotten better by August for you, that would be great. But if you have to wait till September before October 1st, that's what the program is in here. So I think everybody in good faith should, especially because there's no, I think as opposed to requiring all this documentation, and saying that you've had a financial hardship right now and you got up till July 1st to get it in. I think we're trying to do this on a good faith honor system that people will do the right thing. They'll if they can take care of the town and the other citizens of the town, they pay on time, and if not, they pay whenever they can before October 1st, and hopefully we're all in better shape by then anyhow.
So
well, let me make this clear, Bill. My delay here is not because there's no question I want to support 100% offering the deferment program. My delay is if I vote in favor of this resolution that is only for the deferment program, and there won't be another one for the second program. You're kind of making both decisions by making one decision. So I want to make it perfectly clear that, this was the one that I said to myself before this meeting even started, you've got to fight for this deferment program no matter what, I knew we needed one, and this was the one. So I'm happy that both of you guys are on board with it. But the resolution as read, leaves out the second program.
So let me come back into play on this and restate what I mentioned earlier.
Okay.
Those delinquencies will receive the benefit starting in July of not having to pay their taxes for the 90-day period. So that's number one. So they're getting the same benefit, but to go backwards back to April 1st, I'm not sure if that's the right thing to do, because many of them are on payment plans anyway, and they've already accepted the fact that, the payment plans may include the 18% interest. There could be an administrative burden to that. So as long as they're getting the same benefit starting July that everyone else is getting, I'm confident and comfortable knowing that everybody's participating starting in July and not having to pay their taxes until October 1st.
Right. I get you. But remember, the low interest program offers help to people who have existing delinquencies as well as ones that might become delinquent on July 1st. So that's the only thing here. But again, the amount of money involved, I understand your position. So,
okay. All right.
To me, the most important program that gives the help to those who may need it is in play. That's what's most important to me. But we should stress again, like I agree 100% with the second selectman. If you could, if you own your home free and clear, and every July and every January you go to town hall or you mail in your taxes. You might as well do it in July, even though you could wait until October 1st, the very latest. Like I told a lot of my tax clients who, there was income tax clients, we all got an extension to July 15th to pay taxes, but I was telling people, look, if you could afford to pay them, pay them by your April 15th, because you're going to have other obligations later,
That's right.
If you could pay it, pay it. This program is there, though, as a safety net for those who need it. And so I think that this is a good thing that we're offering.
All right, can I entertain a motion on the resolution?
I'll move it.
All right, we have a motion, and Bill, you've seconded it. Any other discussions? All right, hearing none, we'll call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. And ladies and gentlemen watching on TV, you see the compassion here with Sally, Bill, and myself also. We understand you may be going through a tough time. This is why we wanted to do this tonight. So thank you very much for tuning in and listening. And with that being the only item on this agenda, I'd like to ask for a motion to adjourn.
Well, wait a minute. I thought we were supposed to talk about waiving the application.
No, we can do that. I mean, I think everyone, I thought, was in agreement with that.
Right. We don't need a motion
No.
to do that?
No.
Or was that built into we don't? Okay.
We don't. But I'll tell you what, though, just from a procedural standpoint, and to always err on the side of caution, even though that we don't need it, let's do it anyway, okay?
Yeah, because the documents that your office provided me assumes that there's an application process with an application deadline.
All right. So I'll make a motion to waive the application process.
Second.
All right? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Very good. I think we covered a lot of ground here tonight, Bill and Sally. We will reconvene on May 7th, and now I'd like to ask for the motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Mike, before we do that, just a quick thanks to everybody out there that's, which a lot of people have said, so it's not unique to me, I think, in terms of all our medical and police, fire, EMTs, even people working in the, in the supermarkets and any other place that's opened as an essential business. So I think all of us that, maybe aren't essential, or partially essential or go out from time to time, depending on, what we can do regarding, correctly regarding social distancing, like Sally said earlier. A lot of people, I think, are out there, pulling in the right direction, both from the standpoint of town employees through, people, all kinds of people in the private sector. So I know we all appreciate that.
Yes.
Well said, Bill. And again, we have to be patient in coming back to whatever our new normal will be. As I said earlier, and as the first selectman agreed, we still have to follow all of these safety precautions with social distance and masks and whatever else we feel is appropriate to protect ourselves. A lot of the statistics are turning, but that we can't come back too quickly, and I'm sure you agree with that, Michael. So the urgings of these protesters, I don't know. I don't think they're thinking clearly through the safety. I would rather err on the side of caution when it comes to a life and death situation.
Well, I've said on TV and my broadcast updates that we're in the peak of this pandemic right now, and we've already spiked even today up to 6 fatalities from 4, and we're up to 138 laboratory confirmed infections. And by the time I get on TV tomorrow, late afternoon here, sadly, there'll probably be more to report.
Right. So you guys agree with me. We have to be very, very prudent and diligent about how we come out of this, and we will come out of it.
Yes.
And I just, before we adjourn, I would like to commend the first selectman for his weekly updates on NHTV. I think they've been very helpful, very calming to the folks, and I encourage you to keep doing them. I think they've been very good for the town, and I commend you for that. I wrote a column about it, but of course, commending you, but the newspaper, the Advisor, isn't being published yet, but so I will say again that I commend your efforts with all that you have to do and all of your responsibilities to find the time to speak to the most important people, and that's the folks of North Haven that we all work for in keeping them updated, and I commend you for your diligent efforts.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Have a good evening, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Sally. Thank you, Mike.
Bye-bye.
The preceding program is brought to you in part through a grant from the town of North Haven. Watch town meetings or other videos on demand at nhtv.com.